Some breaking news out of Washington. A Canadian official tells CNN no new NAFTA deal has been reached, and U.S. and Canadian negotiators are done for the day. Asked about the stalled talks, President Trump tells CNN, if we don't make a deal with Canada, that's just fine. I say affectionately, we'll just have to tariff those cars coming in. Now, we do expect to hear from the Canadian Foreign Minister in about 20 minutes from now in a press conference. I can let you know that, in fact, Canadian negotiators saying now that there are three very tricky sticking points, and one of them does remain that agriculture issue. Now, U.S. negotiators, meantime, seem to agree with that, but they say that the Canadians are not making concessions on agriculture. Now, Canadian officials tell CNN the U.S. president is unwilling to compromise on some key issues. Speaking earlier, Prime Minister Trudeau insisted again he would not accept a bad deal.
We have said from the very beginning that we believe there is a win-win-win out there. We know that a renegotiation of a 25-year-old accord is it's about time, and there are many things that we're looking at improving the accord by. We have engaged for the past year or so in a thoughtful, positive, constructive way. We will continue to. Our negotiators are right now down in Washington continuing to engage on it. But we've also been very, very clear. We will only sign a deal if it is a good deal for Canada. Again, no deal is better than a bad deal for Canada and for Canadians, and that's exactly what we are remaining firm on.
I am joined now by one of the Bloomberg reporters who spoke to Donald Trump just yesterday, a lengthy interview. Margaret Telev is a CNN political analyst as well, and White House a correspondent at Bloomberg News. I mean, Margaret, I've got a transcript here of your interview yesterday. I've been poring over it, so much in this. Let's get to the controversy, though, with trade, first of all. Look, Donald Trump made it clear to you, both on and off the record, that he's not dying for a deal with Canada, and that he seems to say that, look, if we kick Canada to the curb, that's okay at this point.
Well, Bloomberg doesn't discuss off-the-record arrangements, and if we agree to talk about something off the record, we honor that agreement. So I can't speak to that at all, but I can tell you that what our story reflects is our conversation with the president in the interview, where he said that he believed they could have a deal as early as today, and now appears that is not going to be the case, or if not, very soon in the future after that, and his belief that ultimately Canada would have to go along with the United States. And we have seen just in the last few minutes, the president informing Congress of his plans to move ahead now with a replacement to NAFTA that will be a deal with Mexico, and saying it's something that Canada could be brought into. But as we understand the process, there's, maybe a month or so for that to happen and still fit into the fast track.
Yeah, so it's still tense, but it's not a hard and fast deadline. I want to point out that the president tweeted just a little while ago, obviously respecting the fact that there was an off-the-record conversation. Bloomberg didn't release these comments, but in terms of the comments being released, he said, oh, well, just more dishonest reporting. I'm used to it. At least Canada knows where I stand. And I want to go to that last point. At least Canada knows where I stand. I mean, I'm going to get to a couple of other issues with you, Margaret, but from what you saw yesterday, and I know you've been covering the president quite intensely, do you think this is a negotiating style at this point that he believes is working? Because a lot of people feel that his negotiating tactics, whether they're with Canada or China, are being vindicated because they got Canada to the table, and he's very clear that he's playing hardball.
The president believes Canada will blink first because Canada is in a weaker position than the United States, and at this point, he's willing to take that risk. He prefers these unilateral deals to, sort of global deals. And in this case, where the three nations on the continent have been bound together, where the president's facing so much pressure from American business executives, major companies saying, if you break this up, it could really be a problem for workers, including U.S. workers, that the president, what he's attempting to do is to make a deal with Mexico that pressures Canada to come in. And that's where he stands right now. And based on what he told us yesterday, his feeling, as reflected in that interview, is that ultimately, even if it is not today, in the near future, Canada will come along.
Yeah, and a lot of people on both sides of the border say that has to happen. And it's unclear as to whether Mexico thinks that has to happen, but it would be good for their economy. Margaret